listeners, thanks for joining in. Welcome to another CHRO Today educational podcast. In this series, we aim to provide you the latest workforce management approaches and best practices in HR. I'm Debbie Bolla, Senior Vice President and Editorial Director of CHRO Today magazine. HR has not always been perceived as having a big impact on the bottom line of a company in the same way, say, as sales or finance. But this perception is perhaps a little unfair. After all, who is responsible for the talent that drives those departments? HR leaders. They oversee attracting them, developing them, and strategically organizing them in a way that enables the business to perform at its best. Bearing this in mind, HR is a critical factor in a company's success. And today, we'll learn more about how taking a holistic view of HR can make all the difference. Here with me is Sarina Ryczek, CHRO and Managing Partner of Empower Partnerships, an organization that helps companies manage their talent acquisition, attraction, and retention strategies. Sarina has spent more than 25 years helping global organizations build, nurture, and grow their people operations. Thanks, Sarina, for joining me today. Can you first talk about the biggest misperceptions of HR when it comes to contributing to the overall business strategy and the bottom line?
I think there's a couple, and I'll focus on probably three of those. I do think human resources plays a crucial role in shaping an organization's culture, driving employee engagement, and ultimately contributing to the overall business strategy and bottom line. But I do think there are some common misperceptions about HR that can hinder our effectiveness in those areas. And I think the first one for me is that HR is a cost center. Many view HR primarily as a cost center focused on managing expenses related to payroll and benefits. And I think this perception undermines HR's potential to drive value through strategic initiatives that ultimately benefit the organization's bottom line. So if I look at talent development, the organization invests in training and development programs that enhance employee skills, leading to improved performance and productivity, but this also yields significant returns in terms of output and innovation. And when you look at the skills that the organization needs and you align training to that, it allows the organization to stay in line with where the business is going, what they're trying to achieve. And retention strategies, I think this is one way. I know HR is not seen as a revenue-generating function, but I do think by hiring and retaining employees, we are effectively saving the company money and returning money to the bottom line. Implementing effective retention strategies, HR minimizes costs associated with high turnover, such as recruitment, training, and even lost productivity. And I think I recently read a Gallup poll, and it said a staggering number, like $1 trillion that U.S. businesses lose on turnover. And so I think when you think about it in that aspect, it's easy to see where maybe HR isn't a revenue-generating function, but it is a profitability enabler. I think the second misperception for me is that HR is not strategic. There's a misconception that HR operates independently of business strategy, where in reality, effective HR aligns its practices with organizational goals, and you use data-driven insights to inform talent management and workforce planning. These are all essential for achieving business objectives. And when I look at workforce planning, I think a lot about when a business is expanding and they're trying to figure out what markets they want to go into. And if they just go into a market without knowing what talent is available, what the going rate is, and who's their competition, they might not be successful. I worked for a company once that was looking to expand their financial operations into Las Vegas. And we used a tool called MC, and we really kind of researched and looked at the fact that you're going to be competing with a lot of companies there, primarily casinos, who do look for talent, especially in the financial sector. And we were able to kind of avoid moving from Chicago to Las Vegas, whereas if we had moved to Las Vegas, we would have not been able to secure a lot of the talent that we needed to support the organization. And the other piece where it comes to, HR is not strategic, we are change agents. HR is instrumental in managing how employees are supported and engaged during key transitions, such as if you're implementing an ERP system or performance management. I think that it's often overlooked how key change management really is to business success and how HR actually really is the facilitators of that. They train managers, they train employees, they want to make sure the organization is ready to receive it. And when they do that, instead of losing money because an initiative isn't accepted or is pushed back on, they're able to actually, again, help send money to the bottom line. And the last thing for me, I think, is really that HR is purely administrative. I think some people believe HR's role is limited to administrative tasks such as hiring and compliance, and this narrow view really overlooks HR's critical functions in fostering a positive workplace culture, enhancing employee engagement, and facilitating organizational change, all of which are vital for long-term success. In another Gallup poll, it highlighted that organizations with high employee engagement experience 21% higher profitability than other organizations that do not. Engagement initiatives really return money to the bottom line by reducing costs, again, associated with turnover, loss of productivity, quality, and the intellectual capital that often walks out the door when someone leaves can be priceless. And so the ability to make sure employees are engaged and committed to the organization is really critical. And all of those things contribute to the business strategy and overall bottom line.
You're certainly right that HR is the heart at driving engagement. So what are some common mistakes organizations are making today when developing HR strategies?
Ignoring organizational culture, I think, is probably the top one for me. Many organizations fail to consider their unique culture when they're crafting their HR strategies, and a strategy that doesn't align with the existing culture can lead ineffective. So, for example, if you take a tech startup that has a casual, innovative culture, but they implement a rigid, formal HR policy that emphasizes strict dress codes and hierarchical reporting structures, this approach is going to clash with the existing culture, and it will lead to employee dissatisfaction and high turnover as the staff may feel stifled and unvalued. And I think a lot of times what you need to do is really ask employees, how are things going? And I think that's, again, it kind of goes back to the engagement, but I think that's so critical to understand your culture, understand your employee needs. I also think some organizations still neglect to prioritize diversity and inclusion in their strategies, and this limits their ability to attract a diverse talent pool and may hinder innovation and creativity within teams. If you have a team where everybody has the same level of education, same experience, same capabilities, you're kind of getting all the same, and it's homogeneous workforce. And this causes the company to miss out on diverse perspectives that could enhance creativity and problem solving and ultimately affect its ability to connect with a diverse client base. The third strategy that I think about is focusing solely on recruitment. Organizations often concentrate too much on recruitment while neglecting other critical aspects of HR, such as employee development and retention. And a balanced approach that includes training, career development, and succession planning is essential for long-term success. When employees feel stagnant in their roles and they don't have opportunities to move up or sideways in the organization just to do something different and to be impactful, that leads to low morale and high turnover rates, and they seek opportunities for growth elsewhere. So it's really critical. The succession planning is part of HR strategy. They understand where the organization is going. They understand the talent that they have on hand, and they create opportunities for that talent to be successful. And probably the last one for me, it has to do more with rigid HR strategies that don't allow flexibility. And I think those can be detrimental because in today's fast-paced business environment, organizations sometimes struggle to adapt their strategies to changing market conditions and workforce expectations. So staying flexible and responsive to the changes is crucial. One example that sticks out for me, and this has happened quite a lot during my career, is companies will have policies in place where an employee can't be promoted for 12 months. They may have the skills, the capabilities, they're outperforming other people, their peers. They may even be outperforming people who aren't in the organization yet. But the organization will say you have to wait for that 12-month mark. And this can contribute to turnover and poor employee morale as well. Maybe the policy should be if you meet all of the requirements of the role, then you're able to move into it as opposed to putting a time frame on it. I'm thinking about that. I guess maybe one more thing for me is communication. If there's poor communication between HR and other departments and there's not an ability in your strategy to make sure that this engagement is taking place, it leads to misunderstanding and misalignment of goals. So I think effective communication is vital for ensuring HR strategies are understood and supported across the organization. When HR functions in a silo, people can be confused about new processes. They can get frustrated with things that get put in place. So I always like to take a pulse on what the organization is feeling at that moment in time. And if we're going to roll out something that's really different from what we've done in the past, I do go to people who tend to be your resident detractors, and I try and understand what might they push back on, or if we're going to roll something out, what their feelings are about it. Because I think those are the people that you really want to try and bring into setting your strategy to make sure it aligns with the organization and it's effective.
Those are some great points. I know nowadays employees love to offer their feedback, and it's great to lean on it when considering strategies. Now, how can organizations take a holistic view of HR to drive business impact?
Taking a holistic view of HR means considering all aspects of human resource management as interconnected elements that collectively contribute to the overall success of the organization. And this approach recognizes that employee attraction, retention, engagement, and development are not isolated functions, but rather part of a larger system that impacts business performance. And when these functions operate in silos, it can lead to inefficiencies and missed opportunities. So, for example, if recruitment is focused solely on filling positions quickly without considering the long-term development needs of the organization, it may result in hiring individuals who don't fit the company culture or lack the necessary skills for future growth. By integrating HR functions, organizations can create synergies that enhance overall effectiveness. So, for example, insights gained from performance management can inform training and development programs and decisions. It can ensure that employees receive the support they need to excel in their roles. And this not only improves individual performance, but also contributes to the organization's strategic objectives. Next, if you think about culture and engagement, a holistic HR approach recognizes that organizational culture and employee engagement are critical components of business success, really critical. Culture shapes how employees interact, make decisions, and approach their work, and a positive culture fosters collaboration, innovation, and commitment, while a negative culture can lead to disengagement and high turnover. Employee engagement, and I know several organizations will take engagement surveys and then not do anything with the data. I think it's really critical to make sure you are looking at the data, responding to the data, and informing the population as to what you found and what you can and can't act on. We can't always do everything, and sometimes we just need to know how they're feeling. But when you include regular feedback mechanisms, recognition programs, and opportunities for employees to contribute to decision-making processes, engaged employees are more likely to be productive, provide better customer service, and contribute to a positive workplace atmosphere, all of which, again, drive business success. And I think the last thing for me is a long-term perspective. Viewing HR initiatives as long-term investments rather than short-term fixes is crucial for sustainable business impact. Organizations often face pressure to cut costs during a down economy or challenging times, or their sales aren't where they want them to be, leading to decisions that prioritize immediate savings over long-term retention, especially talent retention. And I think that this is probably one that really sticks out for me. I think it's a short-sighted approach and can be detrimental because losing skilled employees can result in significant costs associated with re-recruiting, onboarding, and training new hires. And when you're looking for cost savings, we usually go to training programs or we cut heads. And by doing that, we're not considering when the organization does turn around, have we lost significant talent? Are we going to be able to respond and bounce back to business demand when it does come back? So I think a long-term perspective encourages organizations to focus on developing their existing talent and addressing skill gaps proactively. And when they have challenges, knowing where they can make cuts and what levers may or may not hurt the business, they should be more involved in training programs and offering competitive compensation and creating career paths for the people that they have staying there so that they can make sure that they don't lose that talent and that intellectual capital.
Yeah, research shows that the cost of losing talent and replacing employees is just enormous. So how should HR leaders build attraction and retention strategies around this idea?
I think focusing on a few key areas like employer branding, the employee experience, and career development opportunities is key to attraction and retention. So a strong employer brand that reflects the organization's values and culture is critical to attracting the right talent. And employer branding is different from your general corporate brand. A strong employer brand communicates the organization's values, culture, and mission, making it attractive to potential candidates, and it can serve as a promise to employees about what they can expect from the organization. A well-defined employer brand, it aligns with the organization's values and cultures, but if a company emphasizes innovation and collaboration, it will likely attract individuals who thrive in such environments. And this alignment not only enhances the quality of hires, but also reduces turnover. So as employees are more likely to stay in an organization that resonates with their personal values, it's really critical to make sure you're building that into your attraction and retention strategy. A lot of times companies really rely on the company's brand to attract, but there's also the employee value proposition that they can't forget about as well in building that reputation. It's an attraction and a retention tool. I think making a more personalized employee experience that caters to diverse employee needs and preferences also enhances retention. So in today's workforce, I feel like employees come from diverse backgrounds, they have varying needs and preferences, and a one-size-fits-all approach to employee experience can lead to disengagement and turnover. So if organizations want to really retain their talent, they should strive to understand the unique needs of their workforce and tailor their strategies accordingly. Personalized employee experiences can include things like flexible work arrangements, customized benefit packages, and targeted targeted professional development opportunities. So for instance, some employees may prioritize work-life balance, while others may seek a career advancement, but by offering options that cater to their preferences, organizations can enhance employee satisfaction and loyalty. And I think it's really important for them to make sure that they do understand their employee base, the demographics of their employees, and what their needs are, as opposed to kind of looking outwardly and what's going on, what might be a nice buzzword or catchphrase or initiative that's the hot topic right now may not really be relevant to their organization. So I always tell organizations, look inward first before you look out to make changes, because a lot of times the answers are sitting right in front of you. And the last thing, from a career development perspective, it is important to offer clear career paths and development opportunities as part of attraction and retention strategies. This one I can't emphasize enough. Offering clear career paths and development opportunities, it allows employees to stay with an organization and feel that the company is invested in their growth and in providing opportunities for advancement. I always say it's a relationship between the employee and the company. And when we're hiring someone, if someone chooses not to join our organization, it's not because you're a bad organization or they weren't the right employee. Yes, that does happen sometimes. But I think it's more about, I choose organizations how I choose friends, if you will. I want to be surrounded by people that align to my values. I want to work for an organization that does that. I want to work for an organization that gives me opportunity for advancement. I want to work for an organization that is invested in me equally as much as I'm investing in giving my time to them. So career development is a way to reinforce that, and creating internal opportunities for training, external opportunities for training, and even just development opportunities and stretch assignments, I think are really important when it comes to employees wanting to stay with an organization as well as join an organization. So I think building effective attraction and retention strategies, if I can summarize it, I guess, involves focusing on employer branding, personalizing the employee experience, and offering career development opportunities. By creating a strong employer brand that reflects the organization's values, tailoring strategies to meet diverse employee needs, and investing in career growth, organizations can attract top talent and foster a loyal, engaged workplace. And I think that's really critical. And these strategies not only enhance employee satisfaction, but also contribute to overall success and sustainability of the organization.
So what should HR be communicating to candidates and top performers when it comes to compensation and total rewards? And how can these offerings be key differentiators for organizations today?
I think when it comes to compensation and total reward, HR has to communicate a few key things. And it really is, what is the package in its totality, what's involved in it, and what does it look like? So when you think about compensation, a lot of times when during the recruitment process, HR is just saying, oh, here's the salary, or what are you looking for, what's your range, what is this? But HR should really provide candidates with a detailed breakdown of the salary range for the position, including potential bonuses, performance metrics. I think this transparency helps candidates understand their earning potential. Then it aligns expectations so that when someone joins, they're not disappointed, hey, I thought I had this potential to earn this much, or I didn't know I wasn't going to obtain this level of earning. And I think the differentiator this creates is that when you're transparent about compensation, you build trust with candidates, and you make them more attractive to top talent. You make yourself more attractive to top talent, and you trust talent who value honesty and clarity. And that, in turn, it resonates within your workforce as well. When it comes to kind of the total reward package, I think this is a missed opportunity because a lot of times we only focus on here's your base salary and potentially your bonus. But there are some fringe benefits that come along, other perks that may be part of the organization. And I think it's really important to provide a comprehensive and holistic view of the total rewards package during the onboarding process, and detailing things like health insurance options, because you should have a wide range of options that are aligned with kind of the demographic that you have. Retirement matching, contributions, paid time off, wellness programs. I think all of these things help employees appreciate the full value of their compensation versus just focusing on their salary. And companies that offer robust total reward packages, they tend to stand out in competitive job markets, and they're able to attract candidates who prioritize benefits that support their overall well-being. A lot of times you'll hear candidates say, can you talk to me a little bit more about my benefits? I have a need for a mental health benefit, and I don't know where we stand or what it is. I think it's really important for organizations to make sure that employees know and understand everything that's offered to them. And it really is a differentiator when you're looking at how are you helping your workforce thrive and grow, as opposed to just putting in the basics or putting in what's needed, or necessary, I should say, not necessarily what's needed. I think communicating career development opportunities is another space where HR should emphasize those opportunities for professional development and advancement as part of their total rewards. When you're talking to top performers about available training programs, mentorship opportunities, or pathways for promotion within the organization, that helps them see where they can be with the organization long term. And it might highlight a leadership development program that prepares employees for managerial roles. And so if someone doesn't have those skills, they can get them with you, or you might support even external training. But organizations that invest in employee development can differentiate themselves by appealing to candidates who seek long-term career growth, advancement, and fostering loyalty among top performers. I think sometimes we forget people who are a little bit quieter, and they forget to raise their hand. So when you're communicating all of this out and everybody has access to it and availability, you're able to find sometimes even talent inside of the organization that you didn't know that you had, who has skills. They may be in one role, for example, as a production assistant, but they have a background in marketing, and they're looking to get into marketing. And so when we post positions internally, they see the opportunities there. They just needed a job. They needed to get in somewhere, and they wanted to get into a good company. And now we post that role, and they apply for it. I think it's really important to look at the talent that you may have internally. And if you have good career development opportunities, a good process for notifying employees of those, I think the richer the organization is and can capitalize on their own internal investments instead of always having to go externally. And work-life balance initiatives, I think it's important to discuss the company's flexible work policies. That's really key today for everybody. And not everybody wants to work from home full-time. There are people who do. There are some that do it well and some that don't. But there's more than just flexible work policies that create work-life balance. There's also mental health days, or showcasing a commitment to employee well-being by offering, we bring fruit in on Fridays. Just different things that you can do that prioritize work-life balance. They can attract candidates, they can retain your current workforce that value flexibility and make you more competitive in industries where burnout is common. I think one of the things that's really being talked about nowadays is employee wellness and what COVID did to people working from home in silos and how that really impacted mental health. And so I think when we can focus on a holistic view of employee wellness and work-life balance, I think it's really important, and I think it's a really key differentiator for our company, and actually putting things in place versus just talking about it. And the last thing I would say is probably recognition and rewards programs. We really should explain how the organization recognizes and rewards employee contributions beyond traditional compensation. So HR should share information about an employee recognition program that includes monthly awards or peer-to-peer recognition platforms, spot bonuses, what happens when there's exceptional performance. This communication can occur when you're recruiting and also during performance reviews. And it should be more than just an annual event. I think employee feedback is really key. And when you can recognize and reward employees, give them real-time feedback, help them improve, meet them where they are, I think organizations that do that and actively do that, they really do foster a positive workplace culture. Employees are motivated by different things, and I think taking a one-size-fits-all mentality when it comes to your total rewards or your rewards and recognition isn't a good approach. And I think when you combine all of these things in totality and you offer them inside of your organization, I think it opens the organization up to recruit a diverse workforce, retain a diverse workforce, and also have really productive employees. And again, that contributes to the bottom line. So I know a lot of times HR is seen as a cost center, but I think all of the things that we do to maintain employee wellness, happiness, productivity, quality, servicing of our customers at a high value, I think sometimes you can't necessarily quantify those, but the qualitative aspect of that really is where HR is invaluable. And I think if we could put a dollar to it, we would understand a little bit more that although HR is viewed as a cost center and not a revenue-generating function, we really do add value to the organization that in turn increases profitability and returns money to the bottom line.
Thanks, Sarina. You've really shed a lot of light on taking a holistic view of HR. Until next time, listeners, I'm Debbie Bolla.